what we've seen in a year in LA is crazy. What we learned when we were there is how much corruption there is right now in price gouging. I feel bad if you're a homeowner out there. They don't know what they don't know. And I don't think they know how this market is so corrupt. We've saved our owner between $830,000 to $870,000.
Talking about the fraud in construction in LA.
Yes.
Our take on it.
Yeah, our first, we've been there almost a year, and we got brought into a real big job by the grace of God, and we inherited some subcontractors
Right.
that will be unnamed.
Right.
And we discovered probably within 30 days the fraud that was going on with the subcontractors that were supposed to be really renowned and referred and top notch, both on creative billing and bad quality.
Right.
Right? That's what we both discovered.
Yeah.
And we just didn't know how rampant it was.
We were there for a few months, and then we kind of started digging around a little bit more and really started to discover, like, there is a swamp here.
Yeah, 30 days, and you like go, this just seems odd. Like, should that wall that's 10 feet cost 150 grand?
Right. And for the people who don't know, like, what are subcontractors? Just like a basic definition, like, subcontractors are what?
Subcontractors are specific to a trade, and these guys specialize in one thing, right? So a subcontractor can be an electrician, could be a landscaper that does some hardscape, whatever. But long story short is subcontractors are usually fall under a GC, a general contractor,
Right.
or the prime contractor. And we got brought in specific right off of Sunset on a large project, a large remodel from a famous, a really reputable client
Right.
that knew of me from the past. We got brought on to kind of watch the in-house and say, hey, oversee quality, oversee the design. And what we learned when we were there is how much corruption there is right now in price gouging.
Yeah.
And the quality work that's not that great.
And just in LA.
Just in the LA
crazy to
area
think
that we
about.
see, we're specific to the Brentwood, Beverly Hills, but I feel bad if you're a homeowner out there, because even sometimes the reputable people, right, is like, hey, this is this best sub or the best GC. But I think the problem, what I can pinpoint in LA is a lot of guys are overeating. And that's the best term. That means a general contractor will say, yeah, I can do that job. I'll do 2 in Pacific Palisades. I'll do the one in Altadena. I'll do one down in Shady Canyon, Orange County. Yeah, I can do the one in San Clemente. And by the time it's done, he booked 10 jobs. And what that means is he's going to sub all that out. And then what that means is his guys can only cover so much stuff. So he becomes a greedy GC that subs things out,
Right.
and it becomes a liquidated version of what he's selling himself as. He's
Gets taken over by his greed.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And then what happens is he's got to sell it to another GC who falls underneath his contract, and then another sub. And that sub goes, gosh, I'm an electrician, but I have 22 jobs this year. I need to find another electrician that can work underneath me. And all these jobs get diluted on the management skill set, because at the end of the day, a job is only as good as the experienced GC and that specific person to that
Right.
job site. And that's where, like, the secret sauce is. If they get a good guy and he's a good man and he's a good GC or sub, and you get him committed to that job full time, you get a good job. But what happens is that guy goes, gosh, there's, this job, I can bid on this job. And then they say yes to everybody. And then they need to hire people.
Quantity over quality, basically.
Yeah, quality suffers big time, so that's
It
a weird.
dilutes a lot. When you have 10 jobs, you can't spread yourself over 10 jobs. Like for you and me, we can take 2, max 3. Just you and me.
Yeah, we could probably do 2 jobs, because
to maintain quality.
what we do, because people don't know, is we fall in that category as owner's rep. And an owner rep, works with a GC, with an owner, with an architect, with an engineer,
Right.
And we make sure there's some cohesion, and that there's also obviously that the owner is represented fairly, And a lot of times, at least what we discovered,
Right.
and you saw it,
Yeah.
on our job, we've been there specifically, I think 10 months now, and we're going to wrap up in 30 days. But we've saved our owner probably between $830 to $870,000. How we did that was because we wouldn't accept one bid from the GC. Would say, hey, we want to see multiple bids here. We want to see some bid leveling happening. We want to check the vendor, check the quality of work,
And that,
shop the product,
Well,
VE the
yeah.
job, value engineer the job.
well, and that close to $1 million in savings only happened over, what, 6 months? Which is unheard of.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we did it. I think we did a pretty good job. And there's always things you look back and say you could have done it
And that's
better.
the first one.
Yeah.
That wasn't 10 jobs down the road. That was the first one we hit.
Yeah.
What are the chances?
I mean,
or that's just how much corruption there is in LA.
I do think that what I was saying earlier was that I think if I'm a homeowner, I don't think they know what they don't know what they don't know, and I don't think they know how this market is so corrupt. I think of
I don't
like
think anyone realizes how bad it is.
I think of people like attorneys, right? Like I have a low thought of these people because it's always about money and
There's
and
some good
extent-
attorneys though. There's some good
Probably
guys out
there
there.
probably
Okay.
is. All right.
Can't say all of them are bad.
Insurance people, right? My house burns down. Like I'm gonna pay you 30 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, they're evil. No, yeah, they're evil.
I need I've been paying for health insurance, but now I have some large surgery I need, and they want to pay part of that.
Right.
They're scumbags to me.
In the building world though, your house burns down, right? They don't give you anything for it.
Well,
Is what we're seeing.
specific
It's
to
what we're seeing from the Palisade
California,
fires.
yeah, and Altadena, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, saying if I look at those people, I know that I have major distrust, and I also, and I'm in this world, I see GCs and I think there's major distrust. Like if I'm a homeowner, you want a reputable person, but how do they know what they don't know? How do they know that it should be 14 yards of concrete at 4,000 PSI with a soils test and not 44 yards that they got charged for concrete at 2,500 PSI
Right.
and they got overbilled and they don't even know what they don't know?
Well, the common homeowner doesn't know any of that vocabulary, and so you get a guy like the people we've encountered who are really good showmen and know what to say and almost know how to manipulate the owner. They'll never know. They'll never know. As long as they're made comfortable and it feels like a comfortable environment and they feel like they can trust this guy who's probably just a snake, like most of them, then
Yeah, I mean, I think there's good guys out there, but what I've seen in a year, at least the subcontractors we've seen, it's well over 50% of them are overcharging clients in LA, price gouging. Like,
50%'s massive. What do you think was this what it was like back in like the early 2000s when you had your other company? Like what do you think the percentage or the rate is? Like, is it drastic jump of the corruption in construction, or was it always like this?
I think there's a historical. It's been always a pretty tough industry to find good guys that are ethical, and I think a savvy owner would do himself a favor by picking the right contract. Like there's a guaranteed max contract, right, where they have to give you a lump sum, that's it,
Right.
and then you put a construction schedule together, and that gives the owner some more leverage to go after a GC for liquidated damages versus like a contract which is cost plus, which means it's more open book. Show me the bid, walk me through that bid. If I'm an owner, I'm going to say, show me the 3 different bids so I can see what you see,
Right.
walk me through it, and then you can add a fee if you're a GC to the one we select, right? And that's a fair open book policy. I think that's a better application today.
Right.
Back to your question about years ago, I think it's always been kind of a corrupt business, just because people don't know the building world and there's all kinds of ways to hide and shelter money and through kickbacks
Right.
or incentivizing people or referrals or whatever. And it's unfortunate because I don't care what any GC says. If he says, yeah, I'm making 4%, I doubt he's making true 4%. I think he's making more
Right.
tucked into the
Management fee.
contract, and they buy out different line items
Yeah.
and pocket that money. So I think there's a way. If I was an owner, if I could encourage owners as an owner's rep, I'd say, let's structure a great contract where we have leverage to pick the subcontractor we want
Right.
under the prime contract, and we get full disclosure, probably, on a bi-weekly basis of reviewing all the invoices and quality of work. Someone should also be watching the work, right? That's something you and I, have discovered also. Even though they're reputable people, they said,
They can be
hey,
the most reputable company and do the crappiest job.
yeah, because what we found out was, once again, big name person, but they put an average younger person in play, right?
Right.
Who's a very
Quantity.
yeah, well, and
They
he's
keep
he's
taking on
articulate,
more and more.
right? He's
They have to
articulate,
hire more.
yeah, and he's kind, but he doesn't know what he's doing,
Right.
right? And he doesn't know what he doesn't know himself.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to direct the owner. I'm like, yeah, we're good. This is the way to do it.
He may have the best intentions for the homeowner, but he's really screwing them with his lack of knowledge.
Yeah, it's crazy. So if I'm a homeowner, if I had to someone said, hey, what do you tell a homeowner? And you have basically 30 minutes to sit them down and tell them, do this, and I'm going to set you up on the right path. The number one thing I'd be like, go vet out architects. Go talk to 10 of them. It's going to be a pain in the ass. I get it. Go find 10 of them and take the time, because a good architect sets the whole thing in play. Because a bad set of drawings is going to cause problems. It causes basically a loophole or a opportunity for a GC to go after the owner legally and say, oh gosh, the construction drawing wasn't there. Oh, that detail wasn't there.
Right.
So if I was to sell us as an owner's rep, I'd say, hire us to help you pick out an architect, review those plans to make sure they're a good biddable set and they're complete. And they're not a big gap in the plans, because you want a full cohesive set of plans that someone could bid, and it's you can get an accurate construction cost. Because in the market, what's happening is architects are also getting rushed. Pacific Palisades is a good example. Like, rush them out, get them out, get them out, get them out. And then what they do is, at the very end, once the design's done, they have to attach construction drawings at the back. How do I build this?
Right.
What sheet I go back here? I go back to, how do I build it? Well, when they open those sheets up to build, they're like, man, that doesn't make sense. No one did a cross, comparison, of conflict from electrical to HVAC and how that marries up to the construction. So then the general contractor goes, yes, it's a change order. Now I can say, hey, architect, you missed it. I need a change order, and then you RFI it.
And that's how people make their money. I know that's how a lot of subcontracting companies make their money. Not necessarily on the bid, but on, the change orders themselves.
Yeah, it's a big hole in the industry that I feel bad for. Again, owners are like, oh yeah, he's very renowned, he's very good, this is one of the best architects.
But that's all they hear.
That's what they hear. And sometimes I think, even if it's from a friend or referral, that person had some, maybe some financial surprises on the job that they don't want to disclose to their friend.
Right.
And say, man, we really got waxed here on this and this and this. But they walked us through it. It made sense. They just didn't figure, they didn't factor it in, right? So a good architect is absolutely paramount. You have to get that. Once you get that, then it's the hunt for a good GC that's going to be committed to your job with the right management team. And if it's a superintendent that goes 2-3 hours a day, that's not good. Some jobs that are, I think, 3 million, maybe 2 to 5 million, need a PM and a superintendent to really stay on top of everything to build it right. Now, if an owner goes, hey, I don't want to spend that money because he's going to drive up his fees and his soft costs are going up on his management, and I don't want to spend that money, I'm the owner, right? You're going to end up spending that money in change orders or some other form or fashion if you don't do the right thing up front and get a good architect, good GC with a good management team. It's critical to the job. So I always push like pre-construction, right? Is it a good set of plans? Who signed off on it? Have all the subcontractors signed off on it before we've contracted them? Have they reviewed these plans? Have they told us what they're missing on the drywall soffits and what they can and can't build? You know, all that little nuanced stuff, it's a pain, but it's worth every dime if you get it done up front, you know, to really set the job off right. Because a lot of people want to rush and get it done and the permits tick and the clock's
It's a
ticking.
lot of work for the owners.
It is.
That's unfortunate that they have to go through all of that. They can't just hire a company.
I mean, I think if you talk to probably, I don't know what the stats would be, but if you talk to 100 people and they said they did a job that was just called over $1 million, how many of them had a good experience? You know, of 100 people.
Well, it's just super stressful to do.
It's
especially
stressful.
Taking it on yourself.
It's stressful, and I think again, like that architect factor is key. A lot of times, these architects and designers want to over-design, and they won't really factor in the owner's budget.
Right.
And they'll say, "Yeah, we can have these beautiful 10 lights, and they're coming from France. Yeah, the lead time's 22 weeks, but they're going to set the whole job off. You know, it's going to be beautiful, and yeah, they cost $12,000 each. You know, and when you start factoring those in, you're like, well, gosh, that's not a really smart decision, right? We can find something close that looks similar, something that's in the States that's not in stock necessarily, but you know, cuts the lead time in a third. But architects and designers don't always think that way. They just want the best thing with their name on it, and it's got to be a one-off, and it's got to be special. And I understand that.
To make them known.
Yeah, I understand that as an artistic level, but what happens is the owner suffers, right? Because that actually extends the construction job, which extends the fees, right? More management fees.
Right.
And again, it puts the owner in a bad spot, and they feel like the bad guy to say, gosh, well, why didn't we think about this ahead of time? Why didn't someone comb the plans, you know, specifically and say, let me sign off on everything prior to getting into the field and building?
And this is all just pre-construction. This isn't even like, this isn't even breaking ground. We're talking about like everything before that has to happen correctly in order for you not to get fricked.
Yeah, I mean, I yes, 100%. I mean, especially in LA, you know, time is money, but this money spent up front, I think is, you know, golden. I think it's, if you can do a pre-con up front, get a good team, really vetting a set of plans properly, an experienced team, I think it changes the game for the construction industry. Because again, what you and I have seen on this job site is a bad set of plans.
Right.
Right. It was incomplete.
Right.
And
it was never complete.
It was never complete.
Which is crazy.
And then that person had to be terminated.
Yep.
Subcontractors, you know, of the 15 we dealt with, probably 5 to 6 of them were blatantly corrupt. The other 4 or 5 that we dealt with of the 15 didn't know what they were doing. Right. They said they could do it, but they could not do it.
Yeah.
So of the 15, 5 probably were good subcontractors that, you know, we could refer. We could say, yeah, use that person again. Of those people.
But even then, those 5 good ones are just 5, like, would you really call them the best of the best?
I think specific to our job.
Some of the subs that we work with, we have to work with because there's not enough of those businesses in the area.
There's some, definitely truth to that too. The trades are lacking, you know, everyone's busy.
And that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah. Everyone's busy and they can't find enough, you know, obviously the trade schools can't keep enough, you know, warm bodies in there. And there's a gap between the older, you know, guys in their late 40s to 50s, 60s, and the young guys, they're just not filling in those trade schools.
Well, we're losing knowledge. We're losing experience.
We're losing experience.
Losing a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have young guys that are in there, you know, doing plumbing is the one I'm about to say. I do see some young guys in there, but there's a lot of trades, skilled sets that we can't find anymore. I mean, masons is a good example.
Right.
You don't see any young masons. Right. They're all like, you know, Englishmen, you know, doing a pint after work, you know, thick with the accent, phenomenal craftsmen. But you don't see a lot of young, you know, masons. Or I don't see a lot of young roofers. And there's a lot of, we can go on to that, but what we've seen in a year in LA is crazy because it's starting to blow up in the Pacific Palisades and people are putting up houses fast. But I feel bad for some of those owners because of what they don't know,
Well, not only is it just like, I think, yeah, we were surprised when we got here, like, what a mess this is. And it's only going to get worse if people don't start realizing. But, like, I think what's crazy is the amount of greed that's in this issue, that's in LA right now with all these business owners. But on top of that, the amount of safety corners that they're cutting. We didn't even get into the amount of danger people could be in just from people wanting money, pushing it fast. And
no, you're not.
I mean, that's the most important, right? The safety standards. But if we don't start vetting these companies early and people don't listen to the warnings and the signals now, I mean, who knows what can happen in the future? We could have a lot of, I don't want to go as extreme as like structural collapses, but definitely maybe, I don't know. I mean, I've seen some pretty sketchy electrical fires, more fires, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Roofs collapsing or structure loads. We've dealt with our own
Yeah.
problems there.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge issue too. Not only is it greed, but it's also just the safety and the cutting of the corners.
Yeah. You'd think that if you're in Brentwood or LA, you think like you're hitting
You're safe.
the best of the best market,
Right.
right? The best workers, the most trained guys. But it's
Probably
just,
where it's most corrupt.
well, I think it's not to knock the whole industry. I'm part of that industry. There's some phenomenal craftsmen and good guys, and there's some GCs that are phenomenal. But I think that would make up 20% of the market out there. 80%, you're either getting an unlicensed person,
Which we know those two.
someone borrowing a license,
Yeah.
or guys that are just over their skis. They just don't know. They're going to say yes, but they really don't know what they're doing,
Not at all.
right?
And then it goes on us. We have to watch them
then it goes on the owner's rep to basically
because they don't have the experience.
Yeah, and the GCs don't put the proper management, and yeah, some of them don't have experience. Even if the GC put someone there on site, they don't know.
Yeah.
They haven't done, maybe heavy structural, maybe haven't done enough grade beams, or they haven't done enough caissons
Piles.
or whatever, but they've done a couple, right? So they're like, now they become, yeah, I'm an expert. Yeah, we've done that.
Yeah.
And they haven't seen every application. They haven't seen everything because you know how construction is. I mean,
Right.
It's hard to think of everything. And that's why some of these old timers are good just because they've seen it all. They've been burnt 1,000 times. And, so you know what to look for,
Yeah.
so, but I feel bad for the homeowners in LA because they're going to pay through the nose to get the best of the best. And then the step down from them is daunting, right? It's
Right.
guys that say they can be these top guys, but really they're just not there and they can't do it. So, it's a tough market if you're a owner, right? So all the more reason for owner reps. Hey, that's what we do.
Right.
Right. So,
Right.
that's why I think, to justify our existence, you have to have a guy that can have a foot in the subcontractor world, a foot in development in the GC world, and knows, is that 3 feet? That's like 3 feet. Anyways, but basically enough to have experience to know what does a good contract look like, what does quality look like, what is the fair market value, how do you bid level, how do you make a decision on the fly to keep the job moving and not stop the job. And so an owner's rep is critical because at the end of the day, the GC most of the times is in conflict with the architect. They will butt heads
90% of the time.
because the architect won't acknowledge when they've made a mistake.
Right.
And
It's their
so
pride.
and they'll say, you should have picked that up, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
whatever. And so those guys are natural antagonists, at each other. The owner is kind of caught in the middle with that whole thing. And so, and then each one tries to go to the owner and say, hey, It was his fault. It was his fault. An owner's rep, you can avoid all that stuff, right? You can say he'll vet through right away what the reality is, whose fault it was, who needs to step up and pay it, and it just expedites things. So,
Right.
or you avoid it altogether with an owner's rep, and you don't, you get a good set of plans.
And that's assuming every owner's rep is also not corrupt.
There's some knucklehead owner reps out there that become, they become, almost like, what's the word? They're not proactive for the job. They're just reactive,
Right.
and they want to fight and they want to justify their existence and be more of just a loud person out there that causes friction,
Right.
and not someone that's like, wants to get the energy going the right way and the flow the right way, and a healthy job site that's got a good safe job site. So those are also tough to find. What's a good owner's rep look like? That is also a factor, because a lot of these companies have massive owner rep companies, and there's people with salaries sitting on job sites waiting for bad things to happen and go, hey, we caught one.
Right. And that justifies their existence.
Yeah, it justifies their existence, but they're not necessarily being proactive to catch it 30 days ahead of time, right? They're just responding and reacting. So it's an interesting market. I just feel bad, and one of the reasons we want to do what we're doing now is because I don't think people are aware with the construction that's coming between the Olympics, Altadena, Pacific Palisades, the normal construction that's happening in LA on its own basis, any kind of infrastructure rebuild.
The World Cup. Isn't that
World
coming?
Cup's coming up. All the construction.
Super Bowl. Super Bowl's in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of LA. I mean, part of California. But my point is, I think that there's so much construction, and the good guys are only going to get busier, and all the more reason for, yes, it's expensive to hire an owner's rep, but really at the end of the day, a good owner's rep will really be a savings, because you're going to save in quality. You're not going to redo work. And a good one will find ways to save money and say, hey, we can do it this way. We don't have to do it that way. Hey, we can buy that from the wholesaler. We don't have to get a market from them because we built that into the contract. So a good owner's rep will be invaluable on a large job.
Right.
And I think the larger job, the better you're served on an owner's rep. For example, on the job we did, right, $5 million, we know what we saved, right? But put us on a job that's 20, 25 million. Put us on a job that's 50 million. What can we do on a savings level?
Right.
And then we become, I think, really impactful to a job site. But you have to sell an owner that, that doesn't even know, like, you really need us. And like, what? Why do I need I got a GC. I have a great architect.
Yeah. It's just extra money in their mind.
It's extra money. They're like, I don't need you. What?
Until stuff starts happening. They start seeing cracks. And
think of all the litigation in construction now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. How many times a job gets stopped or there's litigation?
It's a lot.
It's a lot, right? And so a lot of times it's poor quality, bad plans, a disagreement, and GCs or owners will get stubborn and say, no, we're not. It's your fault. No, it's your fault.
Right.
Shut the job down. I'm not paying your bills. Or I caught you with your hand in the cookie jar, to the owner to the prime contractor, and says, hey, I'm not paying that. That's absorbing it. That's a terrible cost. And no one's in the middle to say, no, well, it's really not a bad cost. You don't know exactly what the market goes for doing a sports court.
Yeah.
Here's what the market bears, right? So, again, I feel part of what we're doing is it's critical to get our information out there. Whoever they hire, a large project needs an owner's rep.
Yeah.
Period. Right. And we need more good GCs. But that's
and good subs.
And good subs. Yeah, you're only as good as your weakest sub, right? That's the link, right? So you can have 22 good subs and the one bad one that doesn't do good plumbing and doesn't run their waste with the right flow, and they close up the wall and everyone gets exposed which we, by the way, we ran into on a job site, right? So
one bad sub can ruin them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're only as good as your weakest sub. So